Greetings, programs. This is Wretch. Welcome back to BTM Shadows of New York. And we are in the middle of Night 5, guys, and we have a choice on how Julia is going to be spending the rest of her evening. The first thing we could do is go to Diva's Delight, and though Julia is not in a clubbing mood, she can go ahead and get some blood. Or we can talk to Samira and maybe get some more insight into the Callahan case. And since that is the primary focus right now of the story, I think we need to go ahead and do this one. A slap on the wrist. So let's see what happens here. A clean-cut staff member, dressed in an impeccable company uniform, smiles at me as the elevator door opens. Good evening, ma'am. Meeting someone? I dismiss his question with an apathetic shrug. He sizes me up for a moment, visibly questioning my fashion sense. However, his professional acumen quickly trumps his discontent. Very well. This way, please. NYC's nouveau rich seem awfully starving for a gourmet soup this late at night. The patrician is packed almost to the brim. The concierge points me over to the last vacant table, conveniently situated in the far-off corner of the main hall. I nestle in the chair, letting my elbows rest on the ornate tablecloth. Watch out, oblivious white-collars. There's a black widow in your midst. Well, I'm here. Might as well just kick back and die of boredom. Yeah. I really need something to occupy my mind. Call the concierge, figure out why Samira asked you to come, have a smoke, and examine the place? Well, I figure Samira's going to go ahead and let us know that on her own time. Let's have a smoke and examine the place. The pretentious atmosphere gradually begins to creep under my skin, straining my mind and dulling my awareness. I take a peek into my trusty medicine pack. 2 cancer sticks left. I casually light one, paying no mind to the scornful looks of nearby patrons. The aura enveloping this place is suffocating. Everyone here seems so incredibly toffee-nosed, as if they were destined for greatness by sheer virtue of their birth. Airs and graces everywhere you look. An adorned hamster cage where everyone is trying either to suck up to their betters or get their asses kissed by overeager underlings. The fact that I find this so pathetic is probably part of the reason why I never amounted to anything. C'est la vie. As I take another whiff, I notice a well-groomed staff member, the manager, I guess, gazing at me from behind his horn rims. He's competent enough to keep up appearances, but can I tell that he's on the warpath? I say we eyeball him until he yields, one way or the other. There's something about this guy that rubs me the wrong way. I nonchalantly exhale clouds of smoke and return his menacing look. He just turns his back on me as if nothing happened. As I continue to scan my surroundings, I notice the concierge answering a phone call and frantically jotting down a note. Good. Get back to work, buddy. Just as the thought of leaving crosses my mind, he glances at me briefly before hanging up. The concierge quickly closes in on me, dancing habitually between the tables, and addresses me before I can even utter a single word. Excuse me, ma'am, are you Miss Sawinski by chance? As soon as I nod, he hands me a carefully folded memo and leaves. For how quickly he scribbled it down, the note is impeccably calligraphed. It reads, "The manager of this establishment insulted the Camarilla's authority with his negligence. Even though it's minor, his transgression must be penalized. I would like you to assist me in this matter." Such a display of goodwill on your part would surely improve your standing with the higher-ups. Choose an appropriate, non-lethal punishment. S. Well, this is disappointing. It was a high order to expect any help with the investigation, I guess. Instead, just another chore. The best I can hope for is that this really is just a friendly request and not a deliberate attempt to derail my work this early in the game. Damn it. Might as well get it done, since I'm already here, so I can move on with more pressing stuff. I swiftly approach the manager and tap him on the shoulder. He furrows his brow as soon as he notices me. I'm afraid I'm busy. One of the waiting staff should be able to... We have something to discuss. The VIP lounge. Now, if you please. His face loses color. Maybe it's dawned on him that I'm even paler than the other, more blue-blooded guests. He immediately becomes compliant as I escort him through a side door. The room isn't empty, but its guests are just leaving. Nobody pays me any attention. The manager is as polite as he can be as he sees the patrons out, but I can see he's clearly losing his shit. He quietly asks one of his staff to give him 5 minutes in the lounge and gingerly closes the doors behind him. Then, the pleading starts. Listen, I know I screwed up. I shouldn't have let him in. How could I know he's not one of the proper clients? I don't give a... Listen. Hey. I would never... I implore you. I have children, for Christ's sake. There must be something. An arrangement. A way to... He just goes on as if I'm not even here. With each subsequent whimper, he becomes more and more irritating. Explain or lash out. I don't think Julia would be in a very good mood right now. Let's go ahead and lash out some. I've had enough of this bullshit. I grab him by the back of his head and smash it down onto the bar, then throw him on a small but stout coffee table nearby. I take out a soup ladle from the fancy kettle it was served in and just smack the guy around. It doesn't look nice, and lasts way longer than it needs to. With every hit, his whimpers grow quieter. I only come to my senses once he chokes on a sob. I look down at him just lying there and wheezing after the unjust thrashing. I throw away the bloodied utensil and get out of there as fast as I can. I don't really know what happened to me back there. I acted on instinct. Karen warned me that something in our bloodline finds sniveling weaklings detestable. Is that what triggered me? Ooh, well, this is something to worry about in the future, but no use dwelling on it for now. I did what I was asked, and I'm sure as hell wasted enough time here. That's all, folks. Alright, it's about time I head to see Kadir. Mighty kind of him to arrange a meeting in the place that's most convenient for me. D'Angelo, Hope, Tamika, Agathon. I suppose that's better than nothing, but no evidence. Really. Honestly, it felt as if someone had already cleaned up the most egregious stuff before I arrived. Sounds like the Anarchs. I'll definitely try and check that place again, but I feel I'd need some sort of expert to accompany me. An advanced investigator who would show me the ropes. Someone tall and handsome, maybe? Yeah, if you don't mind a diplomatic incident, I'll go with you. Any better ideas? Well, actually, this very note gave me one, but I'll need to set it up first. I'll get back to you about that. You know these people? I've had passing contact with each of them. Part and parcel of the job, you know. I suppose. Can you help me out with this? The way I'd tackle it would be, look at one person on the list every night, ask around about them, and see what they know if you do manage to meet them. If I manage to meet them? They're not particularly easy to get a hold of. Always preferred to be a little off the grid, but nowadays, they're all practically in hiding, if not MIA or dead. Funny coincidence? It's not my job to speculate. In other words, he knows something, but is not at liberty to say. Guess I'll find out anyway, if I do meet them. And why one each night? Shouldn't I investigate every loose thread until we're satisfied? In a perfect world, you'd have all the time you needed, but this is not a perfect world. They'll try to brute force a solution to the case as soon as possible. I suspect that 4 nights from now, the celebrations of power are over. They'll ask you for your findings, and that'll be all. Fucked up. To be brutally honest, my focus wouldn't be on solving the murder. Instead, I'd focus on not embarrassing yourself. Fucked up. This is part of why I didn't want you to get involved. You couldn't possibly think Arturo had you involved out of the goodness of his heart. The entirety of your investigation is just for show. You were meant to be an unwitting actor. Maybe I really should just call Mia and be like, you know what? Fuck these condescending ivory tower clowns. I want to work with you. But then again, if I was with the Anarchs, they'd probably delegate even shittier tasks to me. If, and that's a really big if, they didn't think I was some kind of inside agent in the first place. Better stick to Camarilla. But if they're hellbent on stabbing me in the back at every opportunity, maybe it's time to think about how I can repay the favor. Play dirty, no matter what Kadir thinks of it. After all, from where I'm standing now, there's no other way but up. A penny for your thoughts. I take a drag from my cigarette. That's just the Camarilla, no? After the last few months of hazing, I didn't expect a random act of kindness. This kind of bullshit is, well, just how the Camarilla works, isn't it? More often than it's necessary, I'd say. But this time, it's a risky play. In my experience, if one simply displays some cunning, they can expectedly turn a situation like this to their advantage. The court. Part of the court assumes that you're unable to surprise them in this regard. But if you do, by the end of this investigation, you might as well pull yourself out of the ditch you're in. That would be a night to remember. So, where should I go first? You should go with me. As it happens, I'm only out here because I was ordered to drive Aisling to the art hole. And guess the name of her protege. Oh. So that's who Agathon is. Or was. Nobody knows. It's a complicated thing. You'll see. I'm on the clock, so let's get a move on. Lead the way, Big Bad Wolf. Still not done with this bit? Not while it's still bothering you. I'm leaving you behind if you don't keep up. As I already told Kadir, and numerous times at that, I have no idea what happened with Agathon. The Broadway Chantry, part of the Chantry of the 5 Boroughs, is Aisling's usual hangout place these past few nights. She's in a hurry, and not willing to talk. Do you have any idea about his connection to kindred going by the name of Tamika, DeAngelo, and Hope? I don't. I made it a point to keep our relationship strictly professional, one, and never meddled in his personal affairs. Unless they influenced our work, that is. But it only happened one time. Ah, yes. The infamous Juno case. Were there any signs he's leaving? Or anything that makes his disappearance suspicious? No, nothing. It was quite rude of him not to give me a proper warning before he departed. Still, this line of work is not particularly favored by folks with a perfect grasp of that word. I do hope his search will bring him back right where he started, begging me to take him back in. The boy is talented, and I did put a lot of time into mentoring him. If he doesn't, well, que sera, sera. No skin off my back. So you won't even entertain a possibility that he found himself in harm's way?
I know an answer to that one. A researcher's mindset. She doesn't think it's worth considering the worst-case scenario seriously and just takes things as they come.
Precisely. If, for example, climate change scientists didn't operate this way, most would have put a bullet in their own head a long time ago. That's a cheery thought. I'd like to search the chantry for Agathon's whereabouts. Our good sheriff already did that long ago. You'd just be wasting your time. And ours, for that matter. Didn't you say Helen was waiting for us, Kadir?
Give the girl 15 minutes, Aisling. A minimal support for an ongoing investigation. And besides, she has a proclivity for finding things everyone else has overlooked.
10 minutes. And if you attempt to pass this door, or that one up there, I can't guarantee you'll walk out of here alive. Thank you very much, High Regent. Just get on with it.
Ooh.
My time here is practically up, and I found nothing of use. It seems Agathon was completely dedicated to his work. Even his personal quarters are as barren as it gets. No personal touch whatsoever. Nothing I could go by. It's all research, research, research. Seems like such a bore. Focus, Julia. What would you do if you were a warlock workaholic? Where would you leave clues to your whereabouts? What would you do if you found yourself in mortal danger and wanted Dakota to know? It's loose. What's that? Yeah. It was facing this way, huh? I approached a place where I saw the shadowy silhouette appear. It's a brick wall, and one of the bricks is loose. Kadir and Aisling are in another room right now, still discussing the party.
It's not that bad. You ought to learn how to find humor in the little things.
It's demeaning, Sheriff. That's all there is to it. It's time. I work the brick loose until I can grip it. Then, I tug it as silently as possible, revealing a hole in the wall. Inside, there's a book. I browse through it quickly. Agathon's diary. That's a bingo. Your 10 minutes are up. So are your 15 minutes, in fact. Are you done here? If I could get 5 more minutes, I feel like I could stumble upon something here if I just look a little more.
No way, Julia. Time to go.
Fine. I put the brick back and take the diary with me. It did look like Agathon left it so that someone in the chantry could find it, presumably the High Regent. My investigation takes priority for now. I bid Kadir and Aisling adieu and start looking for a secluded place to read the diary. This place right here should be secluded enough for me to browse through the diary in peace. I start quickly skimming the book, singling out sentences and paragraphs that look interesting, trying to get a general idea of what kind of person Agathon was. Or is, I hope. The more I read, the clearer the image of the person becomes. He's been working under the High Regent for 15 years. there's an underlying shame in the way he talks about Tremere magic. He always describes himself as too slow on the uptake, too late to learn something, too much of an amateur. He was really into tying his self-worth to his wisdom. The entries beginning in 2012 are terrifyingly regular. The handwriting is extraordinarily neat. The author's absolute dedication to his studies is palpable. If there's anything to his unlife besides work, it's his relationships with the 3 important women he holds dear. The first is his master, Aisling Sturbridge, whom he reveres for her knowledge, stoicism, and willingness to experiment. I was hoping to find some details about her secretive work here, but no dice. Looks like he was willing to risk something finding all about his inner life, but not anything that could harm her studies. A good pupil, serving a good mentor. I'm jealous. The second is another warlock, his ex-lover Juno, whom he feels guilty about. They had a conflict in which Aisling was involved. Having to choose between the two, he chose Aisling. According to Agathon, there was never real love between him and Juno. First it was just shared interests, then a growing disconnect, and ultimately guilt which made him feel responsible for her. But maybe it's just excuses? He strikes me as the kind of person who spends most of his time inside his head. Doesn't sound like someone you could have a fulfilling romance with. Ooh, man. I'm not going to dwell on it. I know what you're doing, Julia, but this is not a rabbit hole you want to be stuck in right now. Keep reading. Anyway, last but not least, Agathon's mortal grandmother, Sylvia. She's the light of his life, and the person who took care of him after his parents died in a ritual murder. Not quite what I expected. Her family used to serve a cruel vampire in Mexico City, and it was retribution for their escape. She was the lead Tremere used to track him down, actually. So, Mexico City was, at least back in the previous editions, that was the heart of Sabbat territory. He was keeping her alive for a long time, but a few months ago, her heart gave up. Agathon blamed his insufficient skills, the kind of man who carries the entire world on his shoulders. Left alone with Aisling, he drowned himself in work and eventually burnt out, but it doesn't sound like Sylvia's death was the only event that triggered his depression spiral. There was some kind of incident back in 2019. He doesn't cite specifics. Another thing he was worried about writing down? It's all vague mentions of a person who made him fly too close to the sun. Whatever happened, it had the same effect as his grandma's death. New York stopped feeling like a home to him. It became alien, empty, grotesque. His words. I checked the first page. There's a recent photograph of him glued to the inner side of the cover. He's facing away from the camera, only showing his profile and striking a rather dramatic pose. At first, it looks kind of poserish to me. However, upon closer inspection, it feels like a goodbye photo. The final melancholic glance he throws in your direction before disappearing for good. There's also a single black feather. No idea what that means. Something's written next to the photograph with a lot of flourish. It looks like a poem. More than annoyed, sad. More than sad, unhappy. More than unhappy, suffering. More than suffering, abandoned. More than abandoned, alone in the world. More than alone, exiled. More than exiled, dead. More than dead. Forgotten. The Sedative, 1917, by Marie Laurencin. Looks like he wrote it down recently. It might have resonated with his emotional state over the past few months. Most importantly, it seems to confirm his intent with this diary to me. The general idea seems to be his research will outlive him, so he doesn't even detail it. Still, he wanted some kind of tangible memory of who he was left for posterity. But that's not all. There's still a mystery to be solved. Quite a few of the pages toward the end are missing, but it doesn't look like they were necessarily removed to redact information. They were torn off in a way that makes it clear the paper wasn't ever used. And what's more, the preceding pages are empty as well. Could it be that that's when it happens again? I notice a bizarre shape in my peripheral vision. I turn to catch a glimpse as fast as possible, but it's already gone. If my heart could beat faster right now, it would be jumping out of my chest. It's discomforting. I've been seeing these apparitions ever since I turned into this. The worst part is, I feel they were always there. Even as a mortal, they were there sometimes in the corner of my eye, disappearing when I tried to look directly at them, making me think it was just my mind playing tricks on me. But when you're part of the Night Clan, there are times they don't disappear. There are times they talk. There are times they try to force you to do their bidding. And worst of all, no, I don't want to think about it right now. Still, in my experience, they aren't exactly, consciously malevolent. This one in particular was trying to help. I open the book on the first empty page and look around to make sure nobody is staring. Then, I cut myself using a razor I keep in my pocket just in case. It's not a deep slice, I just want to let a droplet of vitae fall on the page. That's when the letters appear.
Yeah, look at me, a clown. No longer confident that any of my people can be trusted, I turn into a camarilla as that.
As above, so below. Reserved contempt.
What are you for, boy? Laugh at me. Ridicule is all I deserve. Come on. Don't just stand there like an idiot. You want to say something? Say it.
Interesting. What the hell? This is the last thing I expected to happen. This diary is haunted. A series of quickly changing sentences and images composed of shadows and blood give me a window into another reality. It's not an objective view, it's like scattered remnants of emotions, similar to a half-remembered dream, full of holes, but an honest expression of one's mind. Might it be interacting with me? It's just a hypothesis, but I don't know why else it would show me Callahan. And was that Ellis Island? Right. This time, I don't even look in its direction. The voice makes me feel oddly confident about what I need to do. I pick up the feather that was in the diary and dip it in my vitae. Then, I write down contempt. Let's try contempt. You sold out your ideals long ago, old man. You're a shithead, a coward, a bigot, a failed leader hated by everyone serving you. Of course I have nothing but contempt for you.
Good. Finally, some honesty. Now we can talk to each other like equals.
Doesn't feel like this is the way these events took place. It's more like a way to explore Agathon's emotional truth than about the way it all unfolded. In any case, the diary is reacting to me, and some shade of the truth is better than nothing. It's a handy tool. If I use it right, I might find some clues that could aid me in my investigation. There are a few thoughts floating around in my head, like alien entities trying to make their way out. Is that also an effect of the diary's power? Let's try... Okay, so I think we should try checking out one of these words at the beginning of the next episode, guys. This is definitely taking a very interesting turn with Agathon. We'll have to see what happens. But if you guys like the episode, please leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, that'd be a big help. And we'll see you next time. Later days, everyone.